Hi, my name is Jen Yacapucci, and I'm going to walk you through the training module for how to determine if you're eligible for FY26 relief money. For FY26, in order to figure out if you're eligible for relief, you have to file a complete claim for your district. And when I say complete claim, I mean all your students that you believe are eligible for circuit breaker should be claimed for their instructional and tuition costs, and you need to be claiming for the full fiscal year of 2026, which is July 1st of 2025 through June 30th of 2026. But relief files are submitted to us in March of 2026, so we know that you don't have actual payments through June of 2026. So you're going to claim based on payments that you're aware of, and then you're going to project through June of 2026. Since you are forecasting through June, you will need to make any updates to those projections that may have changed on your final submission for your claim in July. You may have a student that left the placement. You may have had services added to an IEP. Anything could change in those 3 months that you're projecting. So you need to make sure that you make changes to those on the final submission in July. And year-end claims are filed in July and paid quarterly in FY27. This year, the threshold amount that students need to reach in order for circuit breaker reimbursement to kick in is $53,431. This amount needs to be reached for students you're claiming for extraordinary relief related to instruction and tuition costs in order to figure out if reimbursement would be made. With final claiming, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but with final claiming, that $53,431 can be reached with both instruction and tuition costs and transportation. But since extraordinary relief only looks at instruction and tuition, you want to reach that amount for the students you're claiming for relief claiming. The online claim will be available in mid-February of 2026. We'll open up all claims and you'll be able to start entering your students. The claim is due to us on March 27th of 2026. So between mid-February and March, there's a couple things that I want to bring your attention to. In order to get access to the claim system, you'll have to specify users in DESE school profiles with your district DA admin. And those users should be designated as the circuit breaker claim contact. Those users are the ones that will get access to CHAMP in order to make changes to claims, students and your claim. You could have, access to more than one district, I'm not sure, but all districts that you are the claim contact will show up in CHAMP when you log in. We'll have training modules available to you. This is one of them. So if you're listening, welcome to the training modules. There'll be many. We've kind of are chaptering them so that if you just want to look at one thing, you just go in and hopefully it's a quick little, this is how you do it, and then it's done. You're not spending, a half day with us going over everything. And then we'll have support and QA drop-in sessions regularly starting mid-February until the due date of March 27th. We're looking to do those 3 mornings a week and leading up to 5 mornings a week as the deadline gets closer. But even with that, if you need help, we're always available. Please email, please call us. We can do a one-on-one. You can share your screen and say, I'm not finding this. This is what I saw in the training. We're available to you. As I mentioned, the relief claims are due March 27th of 2026, and you're only claiming for relief instruction and tuition. Transportation is not considered as part of figuring out eligibility for relief. In March and April, our staff will review all the claims. There could be some things that are flagged for one reason or another. You could have had to have made a comment on something. We may follow up on it. There's a few different things that we look at during our review process, and we'll reach out to you via email with questions, please make sure you're available to us to answer those questions. Relief payments are then made in May for the districts that are eligible. That is a one-time payment that's made this year to help offset the costs that you had because you had an increase in special education. That amount is not subtracted from your fourth quarter payments from your final claim that are paid in FY27. What is an eligible expense for circuit breaker? We have other modules that'll go into much more detail about this, but just a quick summary so that when you're doing your relief claim, you know what to claim and what not to claim. For eligible expenses, instruction services are reimbursable. Those are based on the student's IEP and what has been delivered to the student in district. Tuition costs, any tuition that you're paying out of district, it could include extra services, a one-to-one, anything like that. That's all eligible for reimbursement. And for final submission only, not relief, students that are attending an out-of-district placement, any transportation that you're paying or providing is reimbursed as well. When we get closer to final submission, we'll have many more trainings on transportation claiming. What's not eligible is if you have a student that is at an evaluation and you're paying for that, that is not an eligible expense for a reimbursement. A building adaptation, administrative and overhead cost, and students that are attending in district, if you're paying for transportation during final claiming, that is not eligible for reimbursement. So, how do I determine if I'm eligible for relief? In determining eligibility for relief, we look at the prior year's net instruction and tuition costs, and we compare it to the current fiscal year's net and instruction costs. And like I said, you're claiming all your students because we're looking at all the students from FY25. So in FY26, you want to make sure you're claiming all your students and you're claiming the full year, projecting April, May, and June costs and services. In this example that I'm giving you, it's very straightforward. So in FY25, the net instruction and tuition costs for this district were $1 million. Now I've gone in and I've added all my students to the FY26 claim, and I've projected through June. And now my net special education instruction tuition costs are calculating at 1.4 million. Because relief kicks in when there's an increase of 25% or higher, we want to see what's the difference between 1 million and 1.4 million. So if we take the 1.4 million and we subtract the 1 million, that's 400,000. That is a 40% increase, so it's greater than the 25%, which means this district would be eligible for relief. Now the next question is, how much money could I be receiving? In order to figure that out, is we expect an escalation for all districts at about 10%. So what we do, and this is only related to the reimbursement, this isn't related to determining eligibility. So what we do is we take the net instructional cost from FY25 and we add the 10%. So that gives us 1.1 million. Now we take the FY26 1.4 million that we've added all the students for, and we subtract that 1.1 million. That gives us 300,000. That 300,000 is what your reimbursement for extraordinary relief will be built on. Our target is always 75%, but we have one pot of money, and that money is dispersed to all the districts that could be eligible for relief. Unfortunately, there's no way for us to know what the reimbursement will be until all districts have filed their claim for relief and we've reviewed all of them and we know how much districts should be receiving, and we look at that pot of money. Will it disperse 75% or will we have to do an adjustment? So just be aware that until reviews are final, we may not know what the reimbursement percentage is, but at least you have an idea of how to figure out what you could be receiving if you are, and you have an idea how to figure out if you're eligible. If you're looking at this and it gets a little confusing, please reach out to us and we're happy I'm happy to hop on a Zoom, or I'm happy to do it in a drop-in session, look at your FY25. Once you add all your FY26, what are we looking at? I'm going to tell you how to find these numbers next. So for FY25 net instructional costs, this is the first number you want to find. You can find that on our payment listing that's on our website, and it's the FY26 reimbursement listing. On the right side of that document, there's columns that say FY25 circuit breaker claim cost. I've highlighted them here. And you want to find the column that's net instructional and tuition costs. This is your first number that you want it. This is the number you're going to be comparing to what you calculate for claims for FY26. You can also find this in the claim system if you look at your FY25 claim that is now locked. It's also on the claim details page there. So now you have that number for FY25. We've paid you. That's what we're comparing your instructional cost number to. Now you've gone through your claim and you've added all your students. You've projected through June. Now you need to look at what is your FY26 net instruction and tuition cost. That number you will find in the claim system on the claim details page, which I've highlighted here, in the district summary section at the bottom of the left side where I've highlighted is the net instructional and tuition claim. That's the cost, that's the amount that you're taking and you're comparing to what was posted for FY25 net instructional cost. When you subtract those two, if the difference is greater than 25%, then you would be eligible for circuit breaker reimbursement for relief. So now a couple things I just want to go over, because if a district is eligible for relief reimbursement, it does put them at a higher risk for an audit. And I'm going to go over the reasons why and some things that you can do to prevent it or make the audit a little bit easier. First thing is, on our website, we have best practices. I recommend taking a look at those, implementing some of those practices the best you can at your district. When we call to ask questions about the relief claim, please be responsive to our questions. I mean, we know people take vacation, but please get back to us as soon as possible, because like I said, we have this one pot of money. We have multiple districts applying for it. Until all our reviews are done, we cannot calculate what the reimbursement is. So you don't want to hold up the whole state figuring this out by not getting back to us. And we assume the person that's filing the claim is the person that we should be reaching out to for questions. Verify that changes and make updates on your final submission. So since you're claiming through June, we know you're projecting services and costs for April, May, and June. We also know that students' placements change, their services change at any moment. So please be sure when you're making your final claim in July that you're making changes to the claims for students that had changes in April, May, and June. This is something that we look at when determining an audit, who had a relief claim for instructional costs and was eligible, and who had the same instructional cost in July and didn't make any changes. It flags us for us. And we look at that in determining an audit candidate. If you're not sure how to claim, please, we want to be available to you in any way we can. So please reach out to us. The reason why I'm highlighting all of this is because if you do receive relief reimbursement and you are audited, the findings could result in 2 adjustments. Because if you remember, like I said, you're receiving a payment this year. That payment is not deducted from the 4 quarterly payments in next fiscal year. Because of that, if we came on an audit and you had a reduction in instructional and tuition cost, it could change that calculation that I showed you at the beginning when you're comparing FY25 to FY26, and that could then recalculate what you were reimbursed for relief, and then it will recalculate what we projected for your 4th quarter payments. So I just want to make you aware. Please make sure you follow these steps, make changes in final, double check your claim before submission. It's a little harder to do for relief, and we understand that because you're projecting 3 of the months, but double check at least the costs that you know about from July through February or March. And then if you have to make updates to what you projected, please be sure you do that and they match what you've actually paid. That concludes the overview of determining relief eligibility, and if you are eligible, how do you calculate what you receive? Like I said, we have other modules that'll go into greater detail about the circuit breaker program and how to navigate the CHAMP system. Trying not to say new because it's not new since we're year 2, but we'll have many trainings like that, and I hope to see you at one of our drop-in sessions.